Hello everyone. Today we have to discuss about photophosphorylation. And photophosphorylation is a part of photosynthesis. As we know that photosynthesis take place in presence of light and absence of light. That means there are some part of the photosynthesis carried in the presence of light, which is called light reaction or light dependent reaction, and some of the part of the photosynthesis which are carried out in the which are independent of the light, okay, and called light independent reaction, okay. So the light independent reaction is called Kelvin cycle, and a light dependent reaction is called a light reaction, in which photophosphorylation is take place, okay. So the photophosphorylation is the same process that occur in the mitochondria of the all cells, in which there is electron transport chain, in which there is production of ATP by the use of reducing power of FAD H2 and NADPH. Okay, so here also there is phosphorylation is take place, but this phosphorylation is carried in the presence of light. Okay, so this is the some of the difference between the photophosphorylation and oxidative phosphorylation. Okay, so oxidative phosphorylation take place in the mitochondria, while photophosphorylation take place in the chloroplast. Okay, and so this is the sum of the difference. Okay, so do not confuse with the photorespiration with the oxidative phosphorylation. Okay, so these are the learning objective of photophosphorylation topic. So first of all, we need to understand the process of photophosphorylation and how the Kelvin cycle linked with the photophosphorylation. Okay, because the Kelvin cycle are linked with the photophosphorylation. Okay, how it is linked? Because Kelvin cycle proceed in the presence of ATP and NADPH. Okay, so these ATP and NADPH are produced during the photophosphorylation. Okay, and without photophosphorylation or light dependent reaction, the light independent reaction cannot proceed. Okay, it is a light independent reaction. It doesn't mean that light doesn't require to proceed uh, the to proceed the Kelvin cycle. Okay, because Kelvin cycle require ATP and NADPH, which can only produce in the photophosphorylation. Okay, which are the essential component of Kelvin cycle to produce sugar molecule. Okay, and this phosphorylation occur in the two types of process. First process is a cyclic process, and another process is non-cyclic process. Okay, and these both processes include photosystems. Okay, which is the light harvesting complex. Okay, so there are two types of system is used in the photophosphorylation. The photosystem first and photosystem second. Okay. So as we know that photosynthesis is the process that occur in the plants. Okay, algae, some of the bacteria like cyanobacteria that used to produce all of the organic compound themselves they need, and photosynthesis is a metabolic pathway that consists of many biochemical reactions. Okay, so overall photosynthesis comprises into two types of reaction. Okay, so first one is light dependent reaction. Okay, that produce intermediate compound ATP and NADPH for the light independent reaction. Okay, that's why these both types of reaction are interdependent to each other. And another one is light independent reaction where glucose, amino acid, and other organic compounds are produced. Okay, by the molecule that is glyceraldehyde 3 phosphate, which produced in the Kelvin cycle. Okay. So today we have to discuss is a light-dependent reaction, okay, that linked with the Kelvin cycle that occur in the presence of light, okay, in which ATP and NADPH are produced, and the process of the production of ATP and NADPH in the presence of light is called photophosphorylation. Okay. So chlorophyll absorbs light, we know that, and the energy from the light that raises an electron or excites an electron in the chlorophyll molecule to a higher energy level. Okay, and this energy harness for the production of ATP and NADPH. Okay, so when excited electron and the chlorophyll is photoactivated in the presence of light, when the chlorophyll molecule absorbs light. Okay, and the chlorophyll is located in the thylakoid membrane of the chloroplast. Okay, you know that the chloroplast comprises of thylakoids. Okay, which thylakoid are the structure which formed by the granum. Okay, so the whole structure of that comprised by the granum. Okay, is called thylakoid. Okay, and the membrane uh, of the grana. Okay, and is called the inner space of the thylakoid is called thylakoid space. Okay, so this light dependent reaction occur in the thylakoid membrane. Okay, and light independent reaction or Kelvin cycle occur in the stroma. Okay, so there are two types of photosystem used in the light-dependent reaction. There is photosystem first and photosystem second. Okay, and the difference between the photosystem first and photosystem second is only the wavelength of light that they absorb are different. Okay, one absorb light of 700 nanometer and another system is absorb light is 680 nanometer. Okay, so only this is the slight difference between the photosystem. They absorb the light of different wavelength. Okay. So light dependent reaction occur in the thylakoid membrane, and photosystem second absorb light energy, and this energy used to excite electron in the chlorophyll, and when the electrons are excited in the chlorophyll by the use of light energy, so this electron reach to a higher energy level. Okay, and the excited electron from photosystem second is passed along a chain of electron carrier. Okay, like in the auxiliary phosphorylation there is electron transport chain in which electrons are passed on the electron transport chain and finally produce the ATP. Okay, so same here. There is only slight difference between them. The carrier of photophosphorylation are different as compared to the auxiliary phosphorylation electron transport chain. Okay, so the electron lost from photosystem second are replaced by splitting water. Okay, so this is the point. Okay, so when the electron are excited, okay, it pass on the electron carrier that present in the thylakoid membrane. Okay, so that there is a hole created in the photosystem second. Okay, so that electron hole fulfilled by the splitting of water in presence of light. Okay, so in the presence of light, the water molecule is split. Okay, so when the water molecule is split, it produces oxygen. Okay, as well as H ion, as well as electron, and this electron fulfill the hole that created by the excited electron that goes on to the electron carrier chain into the thylakoid membrane. Okay, so as the electrons are passed from one carrier to the next carrier, they give up some of their energy. Okay, so this energy harness for the development of proton gradient along the thylakoid membrane. Okay, same as electron transport chain in the mitochondria. So one of these is cytochrome. Okay, which is an electron carrier which act as a proton pump. Okay, so when this electron cross the carrier, okay, so this carrier pump the proton. Okay, from the one side of the thylakoid membrane to the other side of the thylakoid membrane. Okay, so the proton then diffuse back through the ATP synthase. Okay, so same as electron transportation is okay. So when the proton gradient is established, okay, so this proton come back through a specific channel which is called ATP synthase. Okay, so when this electron comes in, okay, through the ATP synthase, ATP synthase produce ATP from ADP. So this is called non-cyclic photophosphorylation because the electron which excited by the presence of light, okay, can use to create proton gradient, and this electron cannot to go back to the photosystem second. Okay, so that's why this is called non-cyclic photophosphorylation. Okay, because this electron is consumed to produce proton gradient. Okay, and in the coupling of electron transport to ATP synthesis is chemoosmosis. Okay, like in the mitochondria. Okay, so this transport of electron in the various carrier develop a proton gradient. Okay, and this proton come back through the ATP synthase and by the process of chemiosmosis. Okay, it produce ATP. Okay, because this occur in the presence of light. That's why this is called photophosphorylation. And electron cannot go back. That means the electron cannot go back from their origin point. That's why this is called non-cyclic photophosphorylation. Okay, so the electron are then passed to the photosystem first. Okay, so it through the various carrier, it goes to the photosystem first, where light energy is absorbed to boost them to a higher level again. Okay, so the electron are passed through a short chain of carrier to NADP plus in the stroma and form NADPH. Okay, so now this electron consumed to produce NADPH. Okay, so that's why this is called non-cyclic phosphorylation. It means electron are produced from the photosystem second. Okay, and through various carrier it pass on to the photosystem first, where it can produce NADPH. Okay, which is required for the Kelvin cycle or light independent cycle. Okay, now alternatively, the electron can fall back through carrier to photosystem first. As the electron flow along a chain of carrier, they cause pumping of proton across the thylakoid membrane. Okay, so when the electron pass on the carrier, it pumps proton from one side of the thylakoid membrane to the another side of thylakoid membrane that develop a proton gradient. Okay, so a proton gradient is formed that allow production of ATP by ATP synthase. Okay, so when the electron is excited from the photosystem first. Okay, so again it comes back to the photosystem first. Okay, so because electron come back from where they originate. That's why this is called cyclic photophosphorylation. Okay, so in the photophosphorylation, both type of phosphorylation is take place, either non-cyclic either cyclic. Okay, so if the electron in the photosystem first electron come back to their origin point. Okay, that's why the phosphorylation is there, but this type of photophosphorylation is called cyclic photophosphorylation. Okay, and the light independent reaction are driven by the ATP and NADPH. Okay, so the aim of the because the light independent reaction, that is Calvin cycle, cannot proceed without the ATP and NADPH, and these ATP and NADPH comes from the presence of light or oxidative sorry photophosphorylation. Okay, okay. So that's why the light independent reactions are driven by the ATP and NADPH. Okay, that produce in the light dependent reaction. Okay, that's why these both types of reaction, light dependent and light independent, are interdependent to each other, and both set of reaction continue at the same rate. Okay, in the cell or neutrophil cells, and the light independent reaction occur in the stroma, while which is called Kelvin cycle. You know that, while the light dependent reaction occur at the thylakoid membrane. Okay, and light independent reaction, you know that, is called carbon fixation. Okay, where carbon dioxide, you know that, is the essential substance in the light independent reaction. Okay, because in the Kelvin cycle, light the Rubisco enzyme fix carbon dioxide to produce three carbon molecules, that is three phosphoglycerate. Okay, and that's why this is called carbon fixation, because in the light independent reaction the carbon is fixed. So at the start of the Kelvin cycle, carbon dioxide combined with ribulose phosphate, okay, which is the substrate for the Rubisco. Okay, and this Rubisco, in the presence of carbon dioxide, form three carbon compound, three phosphoglycerate. Okay, so this is a carboxylase reaction, because in this reaction the carbon dioxide used by the Rubisco. Okay, and the enzyme is called Rubisco. You know that, and the product of this reaction is a six carbon compound, which is immediately split into the two molecule of uh, uh, glycerol to 3 phosphate. Okay, or you know that the glycerol 3 phosphate is or can form a sugar molecule, amino acid molecule, lipid molecule, fat molecule, is the requirement of the plant. Okay, so this Kelvin cycle, yesterday we have to discuss in the detail. And then finally, glycerate 3 phosphate is converted into the carbohydrate by the reduction reaction, and hydrogen is supplied by NADPH in that reaction. And energy is also required in the form of ATP, and both NADPH and ATP were synthesized in the light dependent reaction. Okay, which we have to discuss. And glycerate 3 phosphate is reduced to a 3 carbon sugar molecule, that is triose phosphate, and two triose phosphate molecules are joined together to form glucose phosphate. Okay, and conditional reaction join the glucose phosphate molecule together to form starch molecule. Okay, so in that way, the carbohydrate molecule is stored in the form of starch in the plant. While you know that in the animals, in the storage form of the carbohydrate is glycogen, while in the plants is starch. Okay, you see that how the starch are formed during the carbohydrate synthesis. So, what happened? Not all of the triose phosphate raw molecule are used to produce glucose. Okay, so some are used to resynthesize ribulose with phosphate. Okay, because without ribulose with phosphate, the Kelvin cycle cannot be continued. Okay, that's why this molecule again regenerate. In fact, five out of six of the triose phosphate molecule are used to resynthesize ribulose bisphosphate. Okay, which is fix the carbon dioxide in the presence of Rubisco or carboxylase activity of the Rubisco. Okay, and only one sixth of the triose phosphate molecule produce to glucose phosphate. Okay, thus two terms of the Calvin cycle produce one molecule of glucose phosphate. Okay, because glucose phosphate is the six carbon molecule, like in the one cycle there is one molecule of three carbon compound glycerol 3 phosphate are produced. That's why to complete two run of Calvin cycle, it can produce the one molecule of glucose phosphate, okay, which can be converted into the starch molecule. Now, we will talk about the action spectrum of the photosynthesis. So, a spectrum is a range of wavelength of electromagnetic radiation. Okay, So the radiation emitted from the sun has various wavelengths of light, but not all the light can absorb by the plant. Okay, but the spectrum of the visible light in the range of wavelength, you know that 400 to 700. Okay, so each wavelength is a color of light, like 400 to 526 is violet blue light, and 525 to 625 nanometer wavelength light is green yellow light, 625 to 700 nanometer wavelength light is orange red light. Okay, so not all the light absorbed by the chlorophyll. Okay, so the photosynthesis first and photosynthesis second absorb certain wavelength of light. So the efficiency of photosynthesis is not the same in all wavelengths, and the action spectrum shows the efficiency of the different wavelengths of light that are used in the photosynthesis. So the absorption spectrum of photosynthesis shows how much of a particular wavelength of light that are absorbed by the photosynthetic pigment. Okay, and the two most common pigment then can able to absorb these light or harness these wavelength of light is chlorophyll A and chlorophyll B. And the action spectrum and the absorption shows strong similarity between them, as greatest absorption in violet blue range by the chlorophyll, and also a high level of absorption in the red range. Okay, and the lowest absorption in the yellow-green range has been observed. And there is close correlation between the action spectrum and the absorption spectrum has been observed. Okay, so that's why not all the wavelengths of light can equally absorb by the chlorophyll. Okay, so there are some limiting factors is also there while we proceed the photosynthesis. Okay, so there are three main factors that can affect the photosynthesis. Okay, so first one is light intensity, and second one is temperature, third one is concentration of carbon dioxide. Obviously, all these factors directly correlated with the photosynthesis. Okay, so that's why these three major factors can affect the rate of photosynthesis. That's why it is called limiting factor. Okay, and change to one of these factors can affect the rate of photosynthesis. Okay, and the factor that is nearest to its minimum at any one is called the limiting factor, and this is the one of that affect the rate of photosynthesis. Okay, and if we talk about the limiting steps in the photosynthesis, limiting step means that control the photosynthesis rate. So different factors limit different step in the photosynthesis. Identify the limiting factor like photolysis of water, carbon dioxide fixation, and photophosphorylation, and reduction of NADP, regeneration of RUBP. Okay, so so all these factors affect the rate of photosynthesis. Okay, if all the factors proceed in sufficient quantity, the rate of photosynthesis is good. So, question is that why the light independent stage is not really light independent? Okay, because the light independent reaction rely on the product of the light dependent reaction. Without the product of light dependent reaction, light independent reaction cannot proceed. Okay, that's why without light, there is no way to regenerate ATP and NADPH. Okay, when the ATP and NADPH use up in the Kelvin cycle, it must regenerate. Okay, during by the light dependent reaction. Okay, when these molecules are regenerated, the Kelvin cycle continues. Otherwise, cannot continue. It may slow or stop. So without ATP and NADPH, okay, and GP glycerate 3-phosphate cannot be converted to the uh, triphosphate without ATP, and RUBP the visco this phosphate cannot be degenerated from TP. Okay, so this figure shows the how the Kelvin cycle and light dependent reaction are linked. Okay, so you have to see that in the Kelvin cycle there is carbon dioxide fixation is take place, okay, which produce the sugar, okay, but it must require the ATP and NADPH. Without ATP and NADPH, you have to see that in this figure, the sugar molecule cannot be produced and Calvin cycle cannot be proceed. Okay, it may slow or can be stopped. Okay, so you have to see that from where these ATP and NADPH produce. Okay, so this is thylakoid membrane where NADPH and ATP are produced. Okay, this is thylakoid structure. Okay, and you have to see that this thylakoid cannot produce ATP and NADPH without the light. Okay, so this is light energy. Okay, which can excite the electron, and this electron when excited, okay, which pass on the various carrier of photophosphorylation, then ultimately it can produce the ATP and NADPH, okay, by the cyclic and non-cyclic photophosphorylation. Okay, so that's why the light reaction and light independent reaction is interdependent to each other. Okay, now you have to see that in this figure how the uh, electron carrier present on the thylakoid membrane. Okay, so these are the electron transport pathway of photosynthesis. Okay, like in the oxidative phosphorus in the mitochondria, there are various electron carrier is there. The complex first, second, third, fourth, fifth. Okay, so here also there are various complexes is there. Okay, but in this electron transport pathway, there are two types of complexes. One is mobile carrier and second is a large complex. Okay, so mobile carrier are plastoquinone, which are organic molecule, and plastocyanin, okay, which are protein, and large complexes like photosystem second, this is the large complex, photosystem first, this is large complex, cytochrome b6 f complex, this is large complex or fixed complex. Okay, so these all are the carrier of electron transport chain in the photophosphorylation. Okay, so you have to see that first what happened at the photosystem second. Okay, so at the photosystem second, the photolysis of water molecule is take place. Okay, and this photolysis of water produce this photolysis of water produce oxygen, okay, and HIN and electron. Okay, so oxygen released in the thylakoid space, and hydrogen released in the thylakoid space. Okay, but electron pass on the electron carrier. Okay, now the second thing is that the photosystem second, which have light harvesting complex, and this complex absorb light in the form of photon, and it can so when the electron accept this photon, it become excited. Okay, and goes on the electron carrier. Okay, so you have to see that when the electron carrier pass on the plastoquinone, the proton from the stroma pump into the thylakoid interior or thylakoid space. Okay, now this electron pass on the cytochrome. Okay, now from the cytochrome, this electron pass on the plastocyanin complex. Okay, then this electron pass on the photosystem first. Okay, so you have to see that electron cannot go back from where they originate, that photosystem second. Okay, now this electron from the photosystem first pass on the next carrier. Okay, this is called ferredoxin. Then it is passed on the again to next carrier, which can use up this electron by the synthesis of NADPH from the NADP plus and HIN. Okay, so you have to see that when the electron pass on this electron carrier, the proton pump uh, toward the thylakoid interior from the stroma. Okay, so you have to see that. So when the electron pass on this carrier complexes, it creates a concentration difference. The concentration of proton inside the thylakoid space is higher as compared to the stroma. Okay, so due to this difference of the concentration of proton gradient, it concentration difference in the proton, it creates a proton gradient. Okay, so this proton gradient can be explained by the chemi-osmosis hypothesis, in which this proton come back by the ATP synthesis. Okay, and when they come back by the ATP synthesis, which is an enzyme to produce the ATP from the ATP. Okay, so when this proton come back to the stroma from the thylakoid lumen interior or space, okay, it produce ATP. Okay, so you have to see that in the photophosphorylation either ATP are produced and either NADPH are produced. Okay, now this is the synthesis of ATP using the energy from the light. So the principle is the same as oxidatory phosphorylation that occur in the mitochondria, and electron flow through the carrier, including photosystem second and photosystem first. As the electron pass through the cytochrome carrier, protons are pumped into the interior of the thylakoid from the stroma, and the thylakoid interior is small to increase the concentration of protons. So the proton then flow back by the diffusion down a concentration gradient into the stroma through ATP synthesis. Okay, so at the same time, ATP synthesis generate ATP from the ADP and phosphate. Okay, so this is called photophosphorylations because it requires light for the synthesis of ATP. Okay, so you have to see that in this figure. Okay, when the electron is passed on the photosystem second, cytochrome pump. Okay, then photosystem first. So the proton pump through the cytochrome into the stroma to the thylakoid interior. Okay, so in that way, the thylakoid interior is very small space. Due to the increased concentration of proton, it develops proton gradient. Okay, that's why it diffuse back to stroma through the ATP synthesis. Okay, when it diffuse back, okay, this hypothesis is called chemi-osmosis hypothesis. Okay, so ATP are converted into the ATP. Okay, so so that's why this is phosphorylation. Okay, when the ATP are formed, this is called phosphorylation, because this process occur in presence of light. That's why it is called photophosphorylation. Okay, so this figure clearly indicate that how the photophosphorylation is take place in the photosynthesis. Or you have to see that in this figure, how the non-cyclic phosphorylation look like. Okay, so this is called Z scheme. Okay, this is called Z scheme. Okay, so you have to see that in this in this there is this is the photosystem second and this is photosystem first. Okay, and at the photosystem second, there is the facility produce oxygen. So this oxygen comes from the water, no carbon dioxide. Okay, sometimes we have to confuse that the plant use carbon dioxide and it produces oxygen. But this oxygen cannot come from the carbon dioxide. It comes from the splitting of water molecule, photolysis of water. Okay, so this. this splitting water molecule produce electron, and this electron excited by the photon of light which absorbed by the chlorophyll. Okay, when this electron is excited, okay, and goes on to the next carrier, plastoquinone, and then cytochrome. So when it passed through the cytochrome, the proton pump from the stroma to the thalloid space. Okay, and then it passed through the plastocyanin. Through the plastocyanin, it moved to the photosystem first. Okay, you can see that photosystem first. So when the electron is reach at the photosystem first, it lost all the energy which it gained in the photosystem second. So again, it require energy. So photon first absorb photon, and this energy of photon excited this electron to a higher level, and now this excited electron goes on to the next carrier, that is ferredoxin, and then again it moves to the next carrier, which is ferredoxin NADPH reductase, which is enzyme which can use this excited electron for the production of NADPH by the use of NAD plus. Okay, so you can see that the electron which create in the photosystem second cannot come back into the photosystem second. That's why this is called non-cyclic photophosphorylation. Okay. Now, what is cyclic phosphorylation? Okay, so you have to see that if you have to see that when this excited electron, okay, this excited electron uh, go back to the this complex, or go back to this complex, cytochrome BF complex, okay, and this electron through the plastocyanin uh, go back from their origin. Okay, this is the origin point. Okay, so you have to see that the electron start from this point. Okay, and come back from this point. Okay, so in this non-cyclic in this cyclic process, you have to see that there is no production of NADPH is take place. There is no production of NADPH is take place. Okay, so this is called cyclic photophosphorylation. Okay, so when cell has a sufficient quantity of NADPH, it is doesn't require to produce NADPH. So at that time, this cyclic photophosphorylation is take place. Okay, so it doesn't have much significance because there are sometimes sufficient quantity of NADPH are produced. So that time there is a cell doesn't require production of NADPH. So at that time this electron go back to their origin. Okay, so so that's why this cycle is called cyclic photophosphorylation. Okay, so what is the difference between cyclic and non-cyclic phosphorylation? So the difference is on the process that the cyclic and non-cyclic vaporization is that with non-cyclic the electron continue on the end in the NADPH. Okay, so electron consumed for the production of NADPH. Now wherein in cyclic they are returned back to the photosystem first. Okay, as you see in the figure, the cyclic pathway has two advantage that it provides additional ATP needed to the drive the light independent reaction. Okay, because electron pass through the cyclic process, the only proton are pumped through the stroma to the thallic spec, but there is no production of NADP is take place. Okay, that's why you know that in the photosynthesis there are a high number of ATP are required as compared to the NADPH. That's why the plant switch over to non-cyclic to the cyclic whenever it require. Okay, so you know that if we talk about the requirement of NADPH and ADP in the in the Kelvin cycle, there is 3:2 ratio is there. Okay, that is every 3 ATP the requirement of 2 NADPH. Okay, so cell require high number of ATP as compared to the NADPH. That's why the in between the non-cyclic to photophosphorylation shift to the cyclic photophosphorylation. Okay, so because cyclic phosphorylation give only ATP, while a non-cyclic photophosphorylation give ATP and NADPH in 1:1 ratio. Okay, but so Krebs cycle require ATP and NADPH in 3:2 ratio. Obviously, more ATP is it required to continue Krebs cycle. That's why cell have two types of the photophosphorylation to compensate these unequal ratio, that is 3:1, and it provides ATP that can be used for other processes such as stromatal opening by the guard cell. Okay, that's why cell require more ATP as compared to the NADPH. That's why the cell in between shift to the cyclic photophosphorylation to from the non-cyclic photophosphorylation. Okay, so you have to see that in this figure and how the non-cyclic phosphorylation linked to the ATP synthesis and produce ATP gradient. Okay, so in this figure you have to easily find out what happen actually. Okay, so light energy is used to energize an electron that can driven electron transport system. Okay, so you know that electron transport system can only driven by the light energy that harnessed by the photosystem second and photosystem first, and and electron transport system generate proton gradient across thylakoid membrane. This is only possible when the electron or excited electron pass on the electron carrier. And electron transport system reduce NADP plus to NADPH. Okay, and proton gradient is used to chemi-osmotically to generate ATP by the ATP synthesis. Okay, so this figure clearly indicates what happened in the non-cyclic photophosphorylation, which is predominant as compared to the cyclic photophosphorylation. Okay, so these are the references. Okay, which we use to prepare the content. Okay, don't worry, we have to upload it this slide on the LMS. So this is the quiz. Okay. So you have to attempt it the quiz, and after the end of the quiz, you have to cross check your answer. Okay. So first of all, what are the components involved in the photophosphorylation? Okay, and what is the main source of ATP synthesis? And ATP synthesis consists of all the questions you have to discuss in the presentation. Okay, so you have to attempt these questions in on your notebook. Okay, then cross check after the end of the presentation. So protonation in ATP synthesis occur at and deprotonation in the ATP synthesis occur at and the ATP synthesis of ATP coupled to electron transport activated by photosynthesis first. Okay, so this is the some of the question which if you have to carefully listen the content, you can easily attempt the questions. So in the process of electron are removed from water and passes through photosynthesis second and photosynthesis first before ending up in LDPH. This process requires light to be absorbed twice, once in each photosystem, and it make ATP. Okay, so this is called cyclic photophosphorylation. And non-cyclic photophosphorylation occur in simultaneously or separately, and the process of utilizing light energy from photosynthesis to converting ADP to ATP is called, and why is it called photophosphorylation? Okay, so these are the some questions, and you have to attempt this question and cross check your answer with the uh, these keys. Okay, so these are the answer. Okay, you have to cross check your quiz now. Okay, so thank you everyone.
Thank you, sir.